hat because this to me is fascinating. The school districts, 2/3 of them in the state of Texas, mind you, there are over 1,000 school districts in Texas. 2/3 of the school districts have joined lawsuits to sue the state either on adequacy, saying that there's not enough money in school finance to fund the schools adequately, or on equity, saying that the dollars that are in the system are not being sent to the poor school districts, basically is what that equity is going to be about. And then a new wrinkle are taxpayers who have weighed in saying that the state constitution requires that our school system be efficient. And I think most of us know, if you've heard me talk on any show I'm on, I talk about the inefficiency in our school system. And I'm going to be an expert witness in the last part of that lawsuit on school district efficiency. Just to give a little bit of background, I had the great privilege of working in the Reagan administration, and I was the first White House liaison for the U.S. Department of Education. That was at a time, remember, when President Reagan had actually campaigned saying he wanted to eliminate the U.S. Department of Education. It didn't mean he wanted to eliminate education. It simply meant that the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, that had been split apart just a few years earlier, he felt should be put back into one agency, that the federal government had no role in education, and truly the states are responsible for education of the citizens in their states. For instance, in our state constitution, we call for a system of efficient, free public schools. Well, we taxpayers know they're not free, but we also realize they're not efficient. The bottom line is, it was a great privilege to serve in Ronald Reagan's administration there in Washington, D.C. During that time, actually Clarence Thomas was one of the appointees in the U.S. Department of Education in the Office of Civil Rights, which later that position was assumed by Michael Williams, who is our Commissioner of Education here in Texas, and I have the opportunity to meet with him tomorrow morning and talk about some pressing education issues that I wanted to review with him. Appreciate that opportunity, and I'll be able to report on some of that perhaps next Tuesday. But the amazing thing about this lawsuit, and why I've gotten some media attention out of it, and I have another radio interview in the morning regarding it, is I actually sent out a press statement saying, "Raise your hands, Texans, you are subject to a shakedown."
The title.
No mincing words, how I feel about this lawsuit. What this means, folks, is you and I as taxpayers are paying attorneys to sue you and me for more of our education, for more of our dollars to go back into the education system. So I believe it is a heist. They are fleecing us. Who is the big winner? Let me assure you, it is not going to be the school kids of Texas. The big winners will be the trial lawyers that are making millions, literally millions, off this lawsuit, as they have done in the past, 2005 being the most recent lawsuit against the state for more money. And I think attorneys, I don't have the exact figure. I'm going to find out and we'll be reporting it, but I think it was something like $50 million spent on attorney fees. So these attorneys have every reason to want to file this lawsuit. And school districts like Midland ISD and Ector County ISD, which first said they were not going to join the lawsuit, then the attorneys flew out there, met with the school boards, and suddenly they've decided they're joining the lawsuit. Why? Because they're told they don't really have anything at stake, that they aren't going to lose any money, and they have the opportunity to get more money from the state if this lawsuit is won by the school districts. Now, the fact is, they're making the case that there's not enough money, that there's not adequate funding of our schools. And I think they're going to have a tough time making that case. When I saw opening arguments were that one of them was claiming that if they can't afford iPads for the kids and for everybody in the schools, then how could they possibly teach the children? Wham, wham. Well, I think that we're going to hear a lot of arguments like that. But I feel really strongly about this, and I have basically said that each round has resulted in more money flowing to Texas public schools, but money isn't the answer. We've been funding Texas public schools at a rate of 5 times faster than student enrollment growth. And folks, there's going to be a really amazing report that comes out tomorrow from the Friedman Foundation. I really can't share with you what some of the findings of that are yet, but I will tell you that they have tracked how much more rapidly the education bureaucracy has grown relative to student population, something that we at Red Apple Project Americans for Prosperity have talked about for some time. Frankly, folks, it is astonishing. You will find that as we have in Texas found that education spending has grown at a rate of 5 times faster than student enrollment growth, folks, most of that funding goes to personnel and to payroll and salaries. So I think you can guess what some of those figures might be in that report. Now, let's also consider the sizable debt that ISDs have amassed. $63.6 billion, and when you count the interest, which we will be paying on that debt, it is $108 billion that our schools are in debt. Folks, that has grown so much more dramatically than student population also, that we are really on a buy now, pay later plan, and let's make sure that the payment lands squarely on the shoulders of tomorrow's taxpayers, the very kids that we're talking about we're doing this for. So we believe at Americans for Prosperity that we truly need to forge a new direction in education, that the education bureaucracy is not going to be more efficient unless it is forced to do so. We are big believers, as America is a big supporter of free markets and of competition. Our whole American system and economy depends on the free market. Why shouldn't our schools be able to improve based on the free market too? So we will be really supporting school choice. And as was on the Republican primary ballot, back in the primary, a non-binding measure that said that the dollar should follow the child to the school of the parents' choosing. So parents should actually, amazing, have the opportunity to determine where they want their children to go to school and what school will have the greatest opportunity to help their children succeed both in school and in life. So 84% of the Republican primary voters supported that school choice initiative. Having said that, some would say, but that's just Republicans. However, that number represented more than twice the number of all the voters in the Democrat primary. So I think it's really important to note that this is not a partisan issue. Unfortunately, the Democrats didn't put it on their primary ballot. But the folks that are most impacted, most negatively impacted by this system which assigns kids to schools, mind you, the government assigning kids to school based solely on their zip codes. And what happens? The kids in the very poorest areas get assigned to the very worst schools. Now, this school district lawsuit is claiming equity would help reapportion those dollars and give those harder to teach kids more dollars. I dare say that these kids may be poor. That doesn't mean they're dumber. It simply means that there are other challenges that we have facing that community, and the schools may not be well prepared to address those. Let's face it, if we've been putting more and more dollars into the education system, the student outcomes and student performance has not improved. Give me that hand gesture again. You're so right, it hasn't improved. So we really want to give parents an opportunity to help their kids better succeed in life and make those choices. It's going to be a fascinating debate. Just the fact that the lawsuit started Monday, don't sit on the edge of your chair waiting for it to end, because it will be a long, drawn-out process. I frankly anticipate that the efficiency portion of the lawsuit, I've been told, may not even begin until January. The decision may come from Judge Dietz sometime during the legislative session, which starts in January and runs, as you know, 140 days through the end of May. As we say every other year, we're in session 140 days. Many of us feel like it should be every 140 years for 2 days. But the bottom line is they'll be in session. The judge's ruling will likely come out. But that will not be the end of it. There will most assuredly, no matter who wins, And I think most of us anticipate that Judge Dietz will rule more money for schools. And then it will go ultimately to the Texas Supreme Court where the final decision will be made. And this is the exciting part, is that the new wrinkle, of course, being that the Supreme Court has the opportunity now to consider the efficiency with which our education dollars are being spent, something that they have not had the opportunity to determine in the past. So we'll be following that very carefully. I will be testifying in that lawsuit, so I'm looking forward to participating in that.